It's November 1963. A government inspector climbs a ladder to the top of a massive storage tank in New Jersey. He's here to verify inventory for American Express. The tank is supposed to contain 450,000 pounds of vegetable oil. He opens the hatch, dips a measuring rod down into the tank and pulls it back up. It's covered in oil. He writes down full tank, 450,000 pounds, verified, checks the box. Then he moves to the next tank. There are hundreds of these tanks. Within a month, the entire scheme collapses. American Express stock crashes 50%. Banks lose $1.7 billion in today's money. But the inspector measured exactly what he was supposed to measure. The problem was what he didn't measure. Let's take a look at how Anthony de Angelis fooled everyone with nothing but water. Anthony de Angelis wasn't born a criminal. He was born in the Bronx in 1915, son of an Italian immigrant. He started working in the meat business as a teenager. He's a smart guy, hardworking, good with numbers. By the 1950s, he's running his own company, Adolf Goebel Inc., a hog rendering plant. And that's where he learns the fundamental principle that will make him rich and then destroy him. He recognizes the gap between what inspectors can verify and what's actually there. At the hog plant, he's selling meat to the federal government for the National School Lunch Program. The inspectors come. They check the weight. They verify the protein content. They sign off. But here's what de Angelis figures out. They're only testing samples, small samples from specific batches. So he makes sure those samples are high quality, pure protein, exactly what they ordered. The rest is filler, water, and whatever's cheap. The government is paying for prime cuts, but getting mostly garbage. But the paperwork, that looks perfect. He gets caught eventually. He loses his business, pays a fine, but he doesn't go to prison. And more importantly, he doesn't learn the lesson he was supposed to learn. What he actually learns is that inspections are mostly theater. Give them what they expect to see, and they'll sign off on whatever you need them to sign. So in 1955, de Angelis starts a new company, the Allied Crude Vegetable Oil Refining Corporation. He's going to run the exact same scan, just bigger, much, much bigger. Let's take a look at how commodity trading works. You're a food company and you need oil to make margarine, salad dressing, whatever. You don't want to buy the oil right now and store it yourself because that's expensive. You need warehouses, tanks, insurance, etc. So you buy a futures contract, a promise that someone will deliver the oil to you 6 months from now at a set price. The person selling you that contract needs to prove that they actually have the oil. Their warehouse has to issue a receipt. That receipt is proof that they own the oil. That receipt can also be used as collateral. You can take it to a bank and borrow money against it because the bank knows the oil exists. It's in the warehouse. It's verified by inspectors. That's the system. And de Angelis understood something crucial. The system runs on paperwork, not oil. Nobody actually goes and looks at the oil. They only look at the receipts. So here's what de Angelis does. He builds a massive tank farm in New Jersey, right on the water. He fills the tanks, gets the inspection reports, and uses those reports to borrow money from the banks. Then he uses that borrowed money to buy more oil futures, which he uses as collateral to borrow more money, which again he uses to buy more futures. As long as the inspectors keep verifying that the oil is in the tanks, he can keep borrowing. This is where it gets brilliant though. De Angelis has hundreds of tanks, each one filled to the brim with oil. The inspectors come regularly. They climb the ladders, open the hatches, and dip their measuring rods. Every single time there's oil on the rod and the tank is verified as full. Except the tanks are not full of oil, but full of water. Oil floats on water. It's lighter. So if you fill a tank 90% with water and then pump just enough oil in to create a layer on top, the measuring rod will come up covered in oil. But there's a problem with this trick. You need the oil to move, If the inspector dips the same tank twice, he might notice the oil level hasn't changed, even though supposedly you've been shipping oil in and out, bringing new oil in. So the Angelis builds something ingenious, a network of pipes connecting all the tanks. When the inspectors show up, he pumps the same oil from tank to tank. They inspect tank A and it's full of oil. Then they move to tank B. He's already pumped the oil from tank A over to tank B through the underground pipes. So they're measuring the same oil over and over again. Thousands of barrels of actual oil floating on top of millions of gallons of water. The paperwork says he has 1.8 billion pounds of soybean oil. He actually has about 110 million pounds. The rest is seawater from the harbor. The question, of course, is, how did nobody catch this? And the answer is very simple. People wanted to believe him. American Express had a daughter called American Express Field Warehousing. Their whole business was certifying inventory for companies like Allied Crude. They made money every time they issued a warehouse receipt. The more receipts they issued, the more money they made. So when the Angelis needed more receipts, they had every incentive to give them that. And the banks lending money against those receipts were making interest on hundreds of millions in loans. As long as the paperwork looked good, why ask any questions? The commodity markets loved the Angelis. He was trading massive volumes, creating liquidity. Everyone was making money. His competitors suspected something was wrong. Some of them even said so publicly. But the Angelis had an answer for everything. Why are my costs so low? Efficiency, vertical integration, economics of scale. Why am I trading in such high volumes? Because I have the inventory to back it up. Check the warehouse receipts. And when anyone pushed too hard, he threatened to sue them for defamation. Nobody wanted to be the person who killed the golden goose based on suspicion. So they kept believing. It's November 1963. The Angelis is standing in his office overlooking the tank farm. The same tanks he's shown to investors. The same tanks inspectors have certified hundreds of times. But you got a problem. He's borrowed $175 million against oil that doesn't exist. The money is supposed to be working for him in the futures market, driving up the oil prices so he can sell high, pay back the loans, and walk away rich. The prices aren't going up. They're falling. Every day they're falling because the market figured out what he's doing. The Angelis has been buying massive amounts of oil futures, trying to corner the market, create artificial scarcity, drive prices up so what he bought low he can now sell high and pay back the loans. But other traders smell blood. They see someone trying to corner the market, and they do what traders always do. They bet against him. So they start short selling, borrowing futures and selling them, planning to buy them back cheaper later. The actual soybean farmers see high prices and ramp up production. More supply floods the market. So instead of scarcity driving prices up, the Angelis is facing a wall of supply and markets betting against him. The more he buys, the more others sell. And he's running out of money to keep buying. Now he needs more money, more loans, more receipts. Because if he can't keep buying futures, if he can't keep pushing, the whole thing unravels. He calls American Express, the people who've been certifying his tanks for years. I need more receipts, he says. There's a pause on the other end of the line. Mr. De Angelis, we've issued receipts for 1.8 billion pounds. Well, so what, he says. The entire United States only produces about 950 million pounds a year. There's another pause. You're telling us you have almost twice that sitting in tanks in New Jersey. De Angelis doesn't blink. He's been talking his way out of tight spots his whole life. Efficiency, vertical integration, I've been explaining this for years. Check the tanks yourself if you don't believe me. Oh, we are, they say. That's when De Angelis knows they're actually checking this time. The inspectors arrive on November 18th. They're not the usual guys who climb the ladder and dip the rod. They're different people. People with clipboards, calculators, and questions. They start measuring tanks, not just dipping their rods into the top. While they're calculating volume, one of them notices that the tanks are connected. Of course they're connected, Angelis says. We move oil between them for efficiency. Show me the pump logs. So Angelis grabs the transfer records with dates and volumes. The inspector does the math in his head. He looks at the paperwork again. This doesn't make sense, he says. You've shipped 300,000 pounds out of tank 12, but tank 12's level didn't change. He demands to see tank 12. They climb the ladder, open the hatch, and drop a weighted line down into the tank. The weight hits bottom way too fast. The inspector pulls the line back up and realizes the tank is 90% water. It's November 19, 1963. American Express Fuel Warehousing sends an internal memo. Allied Crew vegetable oil has been overstating inventory. The estimated shortage is $175 million. That's about $1.7 billion in today's money. The memo reaches the executive floor. Then someone says, "We certified those tanks. We issue those receipts. If the oil doesn't exist, we're liable for all of it, every buck." By noon, the memo leaks to the banks. By 2 p.m., it's on the trading floor. By market close, American Express stock has crashed by 50%. That night, Angelis sits in his office. The phone's ringing. Lawyers, banks, investors. He's not answering. He looks out at the tank farm. Hundreds of massive steel tanks, all of them full of water and lies. For years, this worked. For years, nobody checked. For years, everyone made money and nobody cared. It's November 22, 1963. President Kennedy is shot in Dallas. The news coverage is wall-to-wall, every channel, every newspaper. Buried on page 18 of the New York Times, below the fold, it reads, "Commodity fraud rocks Wall Street. Biggest financial scandal in American history. $175 million in fake inventory. Banks collapsing. American Express on the edge of bankruptcy." Nobody's paying attention because the president is dead. Angelis watches the news from his lawyer's office, and he realizes the whole country is looking the other way. Anthony DeAngelis goes to trial in 1965. The government proves he had 1.8 billion pounds of warehouse receipts backed only by 110 million pounds of actual oil. He's convicted of fraud and gets 7 years in federal prison. He served 3. American Express nearly goes bankrupt. They have to pay out all those fraudulent warehouse receipts because they certified them. It takes years and a massive bailout from other banks to keep them alive. Dozens of smaller companies collapse completely. Banks that lent money against the fake inventory lose everything. No insurance, no bailout. Small investors who bought American Express stock before the crash are wiped out. And how about the Angelis? Well, he gets out of prison in 1972 and starts another business. Again, he gets caught running another scam. He goes back to prison and eventually he dies at age 70. He never showed remorse and never admitted he did anything wrong. His defense was, it was just business. Here's what the salad oil scam actually taught us. The system relies on trust, and trust is easy to fake. Every modern system has inspectors, auditors, regulators, and a verification process. And all of them have the same vulnerability. They're checking paperwork, not reality. The Angelis understood that inspectors don't want to find problems. Finding problems means more work, more questions, more responsibility. So, if you make it easy for them to check the box and move on, they will. The banks didn't want to question the warehouse receipts because they were making money on the loans. American Express didn't want to dig too deep because they were making money on the certifications. Commodity traders didn't want to investigate because they were making money on the volume. Everyone had an incentive to believe, and that's where fraud lives. After the salad oil scam, regulations changed. More inspections, better verification, stricter oversight. And yet, 2001, Enron, fake energy trading. 2008, the mortgage crisis. 2015, Volkswagen, fake emissions tests. Different industries, different methods. Same fundamental scam. If you can make people see what they want to see, and we're all making money, nobody is going to dig any deeper. Thanks for watching. I'm Henry, and this was What Now?